us on Geek Blur, the show you can't ignore. Wayne and Kevin diving deep into all things galore. Comic book, movie, sci-fi, and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real, real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blur forever, we love it so much. Geek Blur, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blur, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geek Blur, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us and every week we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey, what's going on?
Greetings and salutations. You know, I was just thinking during that intro, I need to get something to hear for more dramatic effect when I come in, like a smoke machine,
Lights,
a fog machine, some lights.
Lasers.
Imagine
Maybe
my
lasers.
background was lasers, like a second grade fucking yearbook picture. Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be dope.
Yeah, 1992 all over again.
Yes.
We
yes,
have a jam-packed show. We are beginning the year of Superman off right this week with a couple of reviews, a couple of things we're going to talk about, the intro to the character, all of that. But we have some breaking news that Kevin sent me, so we're going to start off the show with a Teach Ray Sports. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. We needed a theme for Teach Ray Sports. I couldn't think of anything that would be original. I stole this instrumental from the Gary Shanley Show. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. This is the theme to Teach Ray Sports. This is an unbelievable video that you showed me on Twitter. Do you want to give me a background on who this guy is?
I don't
on a tirade.
I haven't watched a lot of fights with him in it.
Okay.
For me, UFC and MMA especially is like, if somebody's at the top of the card I want to see is when I usually tune in. A lot of times during the undercard, I'm either reading a comic book or fucking off doing something else. But I know the guy's name, but I don't really know much about him.
His guy's name is Bryce Mitchell.
Yes.
Never heard of him until today, for obvious reasons. I guess he has a podcast. From what I gather, he went on first episode of his podcast. Holding guns, looking like a true American. Oh,
think he voted for Trump? Think he voted for Trump?
I'm pretty sure he did. Also, he's completely racist. And that's not all to the story. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Give a recap of how you ran into this video today, what happened, and how UFC. Let's just talk about everything. How Dana White and UFC took.
I heard the chatter yesterday on Twitter about it, and I don't think it was till this morning I actually saw the video. I think UFC tweeted out, or Dana White tweeted out, basically about how the guy's a fucking moron, which of course he got into in his press conference, but And Dana White has said multiple times since yesterday that he is one of the dumbest people on the planet. But he doesn't punish people for saying
free
things
speech.
That would be free speech. He doesn't want to do that. Of course, he's been doing it with, I'm blanking on the guy's name right now. But the other hothead that's been saying wild things. Yeah. I mean, the UFC has always had a lot of idiots that speak like... I don't know if they're like we had the perfect example of somebody that knew how to speak eloquently, wouldn't go over the line, but still would say some things, and that would be Chael Sonnen. We did a whole Chael Sonnen thing last year.
Right. You're right.
He would say things, but he would do it smartly.
For an entertainment. He was like a wrestler.
He took it as a wrestler, yes. He wouldn't say things just to get people talking.
A rise.
Yeah, he would not say things just to get
Kevin,
a rise out of people.
What exactly did Bryce Mitchell say in his video? We haven't actually said what he said.
One of the key highlights that I noticed was
The key.
that Hitler was a good guy because he was just trying to get rid of
Jews.
Jews and people that were trans in the 1930s.
Right. He did a
Hitler
good thing, is what he was saying.
Hitler was eradicating these things.
Yes.
I don't want to get canceled, so I don't want to get
I
into it.
don't-
Basically,
I think
too long
he was
didn't
trying
read.
to
Hitler,
compare
good guy, trans people, Jews, bad people. It's
He was
essentially
trying to
what he said.
compare it. He was trying to compare it to modern times.
Yes.
Basically, is what he's saying with the Republicans taking office.
Hmm.
It did not go well. He went completely off the rails. And Dana White today had a press conference, like you said, denouncing everything that he said. However, did not fire him. Actually, didn't even say he punished him or anything. Just had a conversation with him, told him he's stupid. But
I
the
love
part
how-
of this,
My favorite thing about the Dana press conference is Dana basically being like, "Well, now you all have somebody to root to get his ass beat." Like,
and my favorite part of the press conference is something I never fucking heard of before. Have you ever heard of this story
The
that
nutsack?
Dana told? Yeah.
no, I need
Dana's
more
like-
info on this.
Dana's like, that's not even the stupidest thing he's ever done. He took a drill to his nuts and tried to drill through his nutsack.
And then he realized he had to reverse it to back it out. Oh my god!
Right. What a crazy! If you've not seen that video, this is a crazy topic to begin with. We denounced it completely here, but it is to go from Hitler comparing it to modern times. And a drill through the nutsack was the craziest story. I did not have it for a bingo card for the end of January.
But that's why I told you. I said it to you, and I'm like, watch it till the end, because like
Yes.
you just watch the first like minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's like whatever. It's just Dana talking about how he's an idiot, blah blah blah, and then he starts asking questions. And Dana White does not hold back either. He does not pull
doesn't.
punches, and he never has. He never has with any subject. I've always liked Dana. I respect him for that.
Oh, man, what a crazy, crazy morning to find that video, to find both videos. But yeah, oof. So what we watched this week? I watched quite a bit this week. We're gonna talk about it, but we watched Dexter. We've got a couple more episodes left of this season.
Only
of
2.
Dexter.
I'm gonna miss it when it's gone.
This is episode 8. Beginning of the episode, we see Miguel, who was played by what's his name from Star Wars, who played Bail Organa. He was in the original Dexter series. We saw a younger version of him. He was kind of briefly leaving LaGuarta's house. Just had a little rendezvous.
She laughs about the fact he thinks he's gonna be DA sometime, and he is DA in season 3 of Dexter.
Yep, it was great. It was a great run. I like that.
Underrated
season,
season, honestly. I think 2 and 3 get looked over because 1 and 4 are so fantastic. So when you do it up, people forget about 2 and 3, but they're both good.
Right.
Good seasons.
There's 2 major plot points going on in the moment for this show. One is the captain, who was played by Patrick Dempsey, who we now know has kidnapped his own son, cut off his own son's finger, and is trying to plant evidence to make it seem like somebody else had done it. We're not sure what the motive is, other than we're not really sure. Maybe he's just maniacal and wants to do shit like this. Kind of like Dexter. I mean, Dexter knows people like this, knows how to find them, rat them out. So
while we're speaking about the captain, can I just throw a theory out there?
Yeah.
So we've been talking about Captain Matthews, and where is he on the show? He was Dexter's father's partner, I believe, around the time he got Dexter, I want to say. Because I remember Matthews talking about, I remember when your father got you, blah, blah, blah. So my theory is that he's just in a different department and will be promoted to captain or
once Patrick Dempsey
gets caught or whatever. That's my theory.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah. The other storyline going on right now is there's a serial killer. There's another serial killer in Miami, and Harry, whatever his name is, and LaGuarta go to Tampa to try to hunt down who this killer is. And they go through a filing system, and they ended up finding it was a psychiatrist's record or something of Brian Moser, who is Dexter's brother, which we had found. I mean, the whole first season all about Dexter's brother, the ice truck killer, all of that. So Brian Moser, he took the file and hid it from LaGuardia while she was off getting coffee for them. But towards the end of the episode, he hid it in his car, and LaGuardia saw the file, and she's like, "Who the hell is Brian Moser?" Setting up some red flags. They get the call to go hunt down Harry's partner, who had been shot. So they kind of left that on the back burner. Probably find out more about that next episode. But the other thing that happened in this episode is a retelling of Dexter's shipping container origin, which we've known forever from the very first season. That's where Dexter kind of gets grown from blood. That's where he born in blood. And they actually show the beginning of that in this the end of this episode.
And we did not know. Awesome. I believe we did not know there was multiple people in there. I can't remember. They might have said that like once or twice in the show.
Yeah, I can't remember.
When Dexter goes to confront the guy that killed his mother in whatever season that is.
They basically made the kids and her watch them as they were slaughtering people with a chainsaw.
Yes.
And I think in the original show we did see the chainsaw being used. I can't remember if it was on his mother or who it was being used on in the original Dexter.
I think
series.
It was kind of blurry, like you couldn't tell.
Right. But now we're seeing it from the beginning, so we're probably going to see more of it next week. But yeah, this is probably the best episode of the series so far.
Got the boat.
The boat, yeah. The first time we saw the boat,
which
and
I believe the idea is, yes, the boat is named Slice of Pie.
Yeah.
So my guess is her husband will die. Might not be this season because I know they have more than one season planned.
Right.
But when he dies, I'm guessing Dexter's father is going to buy the boat from her to give Dexter a way to dispose of the bodies. Could even be this season, or they might buy it this season. Because she talks in this episode about her husband's the one that gets the boat ready and blah, blah, blah. So I think that might happen because I believe it was the same boat.
Yeah.
Or similar.
Yeah, but like I said, this is probably the best episode of this series so far. This
the last two
origin
are really hitting for me. The last two episodes.
Definitely.
And Deb's boyfriend, that whole situation was like
that came
another
out of story.
Nowhere.
Another story there that's
like
kind of
coke or whatever.
Well, we do know that Deb has become a police officer, so we're kind of getting that background to her story of where does she go from this teen to that, where she becomes a police officer, where she wants to go into law enforcement. So
yes,
great series. Cannot wait to see the next couple of episodes and see how they go into Resurrection, because I have a feeling the end of this is going to lead up right to Resurrection. Yeah, the beginning of it. So. Dark Side of the Cage episode 3. How are you on watching that? Did you watch this?
I did not get to it. No, I'll probably get to like every other week watch 2.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can wait on that. Something I did watch. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it this week or not. The 50 years of SNL music. I actually had it in the notes earlier in the week to talk about it this week.
Right.
Because I didn't find out about it until the day before it aired.
Right.
That's why we're talking about it, because I watched it immediately because everybody was talking about it online. But it was a 3-hour documentary that aired on Monday night on NBC, all about the 50 years of SNL music and all the people that had, not only the artists that showed up on this show throughout the years, but the skits and everything, the sketches where music played a big, huge part in it. And they did a fantastic job. The first 7 minutes of this was remixed popular music throughout the whole entire history of the show, remixed from the beginning. It was like 7 minutes long. And one song would go into the other song and the other song and just keep going and going for 7 minutes. It was really, really good production-wise. It also showed, like I mentioned, skits and sketches. It showed the Blues Brothers, how they came to be. It showed Nirvana showing up. Adele, there's a cool story about Adele where nobody knew who she was in 2008. This was before she got really big and famous. And she was on SNL. And overnight, when she was on the show, everybody heard her voice. And overnight, by the time she was on a plane from New York City back to London, she was #1. That's how the impact of this show was on her career. And she became a household name after that. Also talked about Adam Sandler and all the music and how his music was such a huge part of him on the show. Lunch Ladyland, of course, the whole entire first album that he did. And The Lonely Island, which I love too, Andy Samberg. We talked about all that and how music is a huge part of this show. It's built into it, not just the musical guests, but the sketches, the artists that are on here, the sketch performers, everybody. And also talked about bringing up hip hop into the mainstream. Run DMC was the first real mainstream hip hop artist on there. Blondie brought in the Funky Four. Blondie is mostly known that she was the one that did Rapture, which is the first commercial rap song, technically, because she rapped on the song. So when she hosted, she brought the Funky Four on. They were the first rap group to ever be on the show. And then Run DMC came on like a few years later, but they were the first like mainstream hip hop artists from Def Jam to come on there and actually perform. Also talked about the restraints of network censorship. And being on network television, having that live aspect and not being able to censor pretty much last minute what was going on, especially when you have a bunch of rebellious rock stars being up and center of everything. Rage Against the Machine is a great story about them and Steve Forbes, the author and creator of Forbes magazine. He hosted once and they just ransacked he was running for president. They ransacked him because they were pissed off at him. I don't want to get into the whole story, but the Secret Service swarmed them and they kicked him out of the SNL studios. Sinead O'Connor in the Pope picture. She went on the show and ripped up the Pope picture. They talk all about that.
I remember that.
Elvis Costello. You may know a little bit about this story because he went on the show and he was about to perform a song and he stopped in the middle because he thought the song was a little bit too somber, and he ended up doing his song Radio Radio, which is probably one of his most famous songs. Mm-hmm. The rumor was for the longest time that he had been banned from SNL, that Lorne Michaels had banned him. And what I knew about the story is when the Beastie Boys came on around the mid-90s, I think, to do Sabotage, or one of those songs in the mid-90s, they brought in Elvis Costello and they did the background, the music to Radio Radio when Elvis Costello came back. I always thought it was just Elvis Costello coming back because he was banned, but that wasn't the case. They get into that in this show. It was really good. And they also talk about Ashley Simpson's lip syncing, which was a huge story about 20 years ago. When she went on there, she had a cold. She had a backing track like Milli Vanilli, which never really happens on SNL. Everybody usually performs live. But the tapes, they fucked up, and her band members played the wrong song and fucked her up, and she started doing this weird like jig dance in the middle of it. But the best part of this show is there's an epic meltdown video of Kanye, and everybody knows the story of Kanye having the meltdown on SNL. Yep. But seeing it and hearing the people in the back, they had the production audio of this throughout the whole entire thing of what was going on when stuff like this, especially like when Sinead O'Connor is ripping up the picture of the Pope, they have the people is saying, what the hell's going on? What's going on? They actually have that audio throughout here, and they did the same thing with Kanye when he's having this epic meltdown. I think it was the end of one of the episodes. Yep. He's performing one of the songs, and he just starts going off. He's wearing a red Trump hat the whole entire time. Make America great again. This is a great documentary. The other one is good too, but I think this one may have been a little bit better for me. I recommend it. It's on Peacock right now if you have Peacock. And it's very much worth the watch. And I think in a couple weeks, we only got a couple more weeks until the 50th anniversary show. We're going to talk all about that, and also announce there's another announcement this week we'll talk about later in the show. But another show debuted this week, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah. I thought it was really good, and
sorry. It's not bad.
I'm hit or miss with the animated stuff that they've done so far in Disney, but I thought this is pretty good. It's retelling the story of Spider-Man, kind of adjacent to the MCU, but not. The show was originally supposed to be an MCU or origin story telling the freshman year of Peter Parker, because it was never told in the MCU, but it pivoted. When the multiverse happened, it kind of pivoted to another multiverse where what if, it's kind of a what if story, instead of Tony Stark being the mentor, Norman Osborn is the mentor. Coming in playing Norman Osborn is Coleman Domingo. Totally different origin story, totally different way of telling him and how he became Spider-Man in New York. I thought it was great. Starts off with Doctor Strange coming in, fighting a symbiote of all things. Coming in right in front of Peter Parker, and a spider comes down, and you know the rest. Mm-hmm. parallels, what if like of a dimension, like I mentioned, and a lot of parallel MCU nods as well. Like there's a lot of things like there's a hallway scene where in the movie in Civil War, Peter Parker's walking through the hallway, and it's a shot-for-shot remake of that in animated form. But instead of meeting Tony Stark at the end of the video, he's meeting Norman Osborn. I thought it was really good, done well. It's only gonna be 4 weeks. I think 3 episodes next week, 3 episodes the week after, and the finale's 2 more. So, yeah, it's very good. I'm gonna continue watching that. Speaking of Spider-Man, a movie I had not heard about until a couple of weeks ago, and I know you had watched it way back in the day.
Yep.
And the cast is ridiculous.
Way back in the COVID.
Way back in 2020 when this movie came out on Netflix, and I had never heard of it. I don't know. I think it was just taking steam because the cast in this movie are all superstars now, and they were kind of superstars then too. You have Tom Holland, you have Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård, of course, Pennywise in the It movies, Jason Clarke, who had just done, I believe, Planet of the Apes before this, right? Because that was 2020. I think Planet of the Apes was before this.
2016 was Planet of the Apes, I want to say, maybe even 15. But yeah, he'd done that. He'd obviously been in the Terminator Genesis movie around that time too. Yeah. And 1 or 2 other projects. I like Jason Clarke. He's good.
Sebastian Stan. All of these guys are mainstream.
I forgot he was in it.
Yeah, all of these guys are mainstream stars right now. The other guy in this, he played a preacher in the beginning of the movie. He was the Dursley kid in Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was great in this too. That had a great ensemble cast. 4 out of 5 for me. Great story, and the thing about the movie was in getting into, like, I would say middle to 3/4 through the movie. There's so many different parts going on at once, different stories, different timelines being told, and then by the end of the movie, everything kind of bridged together, which was good. I like movies like that. Nothing was left unturned. And Tom Holland's character was great. And I like Bill. I like all the characters. It's a good movie. It's on Netflix. 2020. The Devil All the Time is what it's called. I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, very good movie. Watched a couple of other comedy movies. I don't know why. I'm just in a mood for watching romantic comedies. Movie called Going the Distance. This came out in 2010, starring Drew Barrymore, Justin Long, Charlie Day, Jason Sudeikis, and Christina Applegate. This is okay. Okay comedy. Romantic comedy. I like all of these people. Justin Long is funny. Jason Sudeikis, of course. Ted Lasso. Love him in that. This is way before that. I think he was probably still on SNL at the time. Yeah, good movie. Of course, Charlie Day. We both love him from Sunny. So, good movie. Another comedy that I watched. Oh, Ron Livingston is in that too. Very quick cameo. Another movie I watched is Sleeping with Other People. This is also has Jason Sudeikis, Alison Brie. This is right after Community. Adam Scott, Jason Mantzoukas, Adam Brody, and Amanda Peet. This is a good movie too. Good rated R comedy. Not a lot of good rated R comedies nowadays. I mentioned it all the time, but it kind of won everything went PC, politically correct. Everything stopped with the great comedies of our day when we were growing up. And like, you don't have an American Pie anymore.
Right.
If you do, it's very woke. It's reversed. It's whatever you want to say, but it's not like it was when we were growing up. And I wish people would take more chances on comedies, but they don't. Another movie came out today. I did watch it. It actually came out yesterday, called You're Cordially Invited. This movie was okay. Starring Will Ferrell, Reese Witherspoon. This is on Amazon Prime. It's about this group of people. There's a big mix-up. They both book a hotel on a island to have weddings, and hilarity ensues. Kind of. I mean, it's okay. It's an okay movie. Probably 3 out of 5 for me. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I think I like Will Ferrell. I think I'm always waiting and hoping that I'll see another Step Brothers. Every movie since that's come out. I love Step Brothers so much. I just want to see that again, and it has not happened.
Nope.
It has not happened, and Step Brothers is just so fucking funny. Maybe it's just the ensemble. Well, no, because they had that Sherlock Holmes movie that was pretty bad too. So maybe it's the ensemble of the two of them, but yeah, 3 out of 5 for me. Not good. All right, get that all out of the way, and what we came here today, we're going to be starting an intro to Superman. I want to talk about the character, how it came to be. These two creators, their names are Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. They're from Cleveland, Ohio, which we talked about on the show. They're actually filming the new Superman movie in Ohio. And a lot of those places are where the origin of this character came from. They were high school friends in 1932, and they came up and they wanted to create together. They realized that, I'm a good writer, I'm a good artist. So they took both of their talents together and tried to create new material, tried to create new things that they could make money off of, put into magazines, put into newspapers at the time. Started off in 1933 with this little article that they came out in a magazine called The Reign of Superman. Superman. And very different story. It was more that the Superman was more of a evil person. Drugs induced this power that he had. And the power was not superhuman strength like Superman. It was more of a Professor X type of
mind
power.
Control, right? Yeah.
Mind control, yep. And it did not... It's not kind of what they pictured, but it did okay for them. It got them in the door. And then they started continuing on with this character. And later on, a couple of years down the road, they did another version of the character. But they made him more good this time because having stories of good made more sense. It was more enticing to a younger audience. So they made him be a vigilante hero. Reminds you of somebody? Batman, maybe? And it made it more mainstream, so they were getting more attention. Come July 3rd, 1933, it wasn't enough attention. They were being turned away from a lot of people. And Siegel started looking for older, established artists to replace Shuster. And in protest, Siegel burns the interior of their comic prototype. I'm not sure if it's the same cover that I have here or not, but it's the Superman prototype that they had, and they have a kind of a falling out in 1933. The next draft, Siegel is trying to find the story of the Superman character. The next draft ends up being he's going to be a scientific adventurer from the far future, and has naturally evolved superpowers. So the powers keep developing on this character throughout the 1930s. And they also have time machines in this, bringing in the modern era. Kind of a man out of time is what they're starting as, which is kind of Superman is, in a way. He's kind of man out of space, out of time. Come to 1934, the next draft, further evolution of the character. The debut of giant catalysms, which ends up being what happens with Krypton. And he ends up being the last surviving man, sends his 3-year-old son back in time to the year 1935. So they're still dealing with time travel for some reason. They haven't gotten to Krypton yet. But they were discovered by Sam and Molly Kent. The name Kent came around this time. They leave the boy in the orphanage, but the staff struggle to control him because he has superhuman strength and impenetrable skin. So they're already getting the superhuman part of it. The Kents ended up adopting the boy, naming him Clark. So Clark Kent. The origin was 1934. After rejecting every artist that tried to draw this vision, Siegel and Shuster end up reconciling and continue creating the backstory. Krypton, the costume design, everything starts being developed from 1934 to 1938. After failed deals with newspaper strips, magazines, who had little faith in the idea, they fall upon a little company called Detective Comics, Inc. And Superman debuts in Action Comics #1, dated on June 1938, published in April of that year, a couple months before that. They were only paid $130 for 13 pages. It ends up equaling about $2,800 now. And a contract that also gave up the copyright to DC Inc. going forward. We have a huge story to talk about at the end of the show about this. Surprising that came up today when I'm talking about it now. But,
I know, right?
But yeah, this is the first cover of Superman, Action Comics #1. Very iconic. This thing sells for millions and millions of dollars. If you know Superman, you know this comic cover is him lifting up a car. We actually talked about it when we talked about Superman and Lois, that iconic scene was replayed in that show with this same exact costume. Also, we have, I think I have an interior in here too of the comic book. There's some just showing how the character was leaping instead of flying. faster than a locomotive. All of this stuff came in this first issue. Stronger. All of this stuff came in the
all
first.
that stuff.
Yep, all this stuff. But the character was influenced by a whole bunch of influences. First one being John Carter from Mars, which was a movie a decade ago with a guy who was in the show that you like, Taylor Hitch, right?
Yep.
I believe that's him. John Carter from Mars. That's the one. That's the picture on the left there.
Yes.
The other influences were Douglas Fairbanks for the Mark of Zorro. Of course, Zorro, he has a secret identity. So Clark Kent has a secret identity.
Yep.
That's where it came from. And comedian Harold Lloyd. A lot of popular stuff from that time. The Popeye cartoons, of course, Popeye being strength. And Hugo Danner's character in the 1930 science fiction novel Gladiator is pictured right there. By Philip Wiley. Similar superhero strength, speed, bulletproof skin, so on and so forth. The name Metropolis comes from the 1927 film of the same name. An early love of collection of comic strips. Before comic books, Schuster self-taught his tracing over comic strips is how he learned how to draw. Schuster's obsession with strongman competitions of the day, kind of if you were probably modern day a wrestling fan.
Right,
The costume was influenced by early wrestlers and boxers of the time. Also influenced by pulp action stories. Most heroes and swashbucklers wore capes. The crest was based off of medieval crests of the back in the medieval times, adorned by knights and jousters. His face was inspired by a mix of Olympian Johnny Westmuller, was pictured there right in like kind of the right middle, and Dick Tracy comics. It's kind of where the look for Clark Kent came from. Where are we at in the notes? The first picture of Superman, as you can see there, that's kind of one of the original first drawings. His boots had more of a gladiator look to them. They were kind of laced. It was weird looking, and eventually changed to the boots that we know now. But his initial power set, he had strength, impervious skin, leaping. We've talked about that before. Flying, super speed. Eventually, he had X-ray vision, super hearing. In 1939, superhuman breath in 1940, heat vision in 1949, kryptonite became a thing in 1949, Krypton, Kal-El, we know he's Kal-El from Krypton, his father is Jor-El, he's an Earth refugee orphan, he ends up landing in Smallville in 1949, that became part of the comic book, and Kansas was not brought up until the 1978 movie. I was kind of surprised doing the research that didn't come up until then. Laura and Jor-El, like I mentioned, is his father and mother from Krypton. He was found by Ma and Pa Kent, Jonathan and Martha, and becomes Clark Kent. That's all done in the first few years of the comic. The move to Metropolis to use his powers for good. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Becoming a vigilante to kind of benefit humanity, to use his powers for good, to actually use them, not for bad, to use them to take care of people, to make the world a better place. He ends up working for a newspaper called the Daily Planet. Everybody knows that. Yep. Run by editor Perry White. Jimmy Olsen's a photographer.
Apparently this Daily Planet hires people without degrees in journalism, which is fucking incredible.
You're right. Yep. And
like
that's
in
where
in Smallville, they go from graduating high school to working at the fucking world's most famous newspaper.
Yeah.
At the age of 18.
Yep. He ends up meeting Lois Lane, who was a reporter there. They end up working together throughout, and Jimmy Olsen is their photographer. Mild-mannered, secret identity, clumsy, trying to fit in as a human is basically what that whole entire thing is. Why is he mild and clumsy and everything? It's because he's trying to fit in and be a human, so he's acting to be that way. The villains start off with Lex Luthor in 1940. He's obviously his arch nemesis. Mr. Mxyzptlk in 1944. Brainiac in 1958. In 1939, the debuts in newspaper comic strips. It was there for like 60 years. But in the summer, he had his own comic book series, Superman #1. This is the comic strip that I was talking about in the newspapers. This is the first one that was ever in there. Little quick, kind of like a page of a comic book that would be in the newspaper on Sunday morning. But this is the issue. This one's expensive too. This is one of those ones that are always sold for millions of dollars. But during the war, World War II. This came out right during World War II, right when it started. It was used more for World War II propaganda and war efforts, urging kids to buy war bonds. We'll talk about that when we get into this next thing, which is what we watched this week to talk about. This is kind of where we wanted to start talking about the character.
Oh boy, this show is something.
For its time, imagine being a kid.
Honestly, not bad.
Right. Imagine being a kid in 1941, and you're reading these comic books for a year or two, but you go to the movie theater. There was no TV, so you're going to the movie theater, and you're watching Superman on the big screen, done by Paramount Pictures, little short mini episodes, 6 minutes episodes each, but you're seeing this person come to life from the pages and fighting crime, and at the time, very strange, very weird, but kids could eat this shit up back then. I can imagine being a kid and loving this.
And it'd be the only thing you have, too. There was no other content at that time. So.
No TV. All you had was radio and playing with toys and shit. But we're talking about Max Fleischer's 1941 serial cartoons. There's 17 of them in total. And Max Fleischer, known for creating Rotoscope, which ends up tracing images from a live-action film frame by frame for animated cartoon shorts to have more of a realistic, human-like character. They did that for this a little bit, but Superman, he's always flying, so they couldn't really do it for the whole thing. But from when you see a human walking around, chances are it was a real tracing of a live-action film slide that they were doing frame by frame to make it look more animated. He also brought it to Betty Boop and Popeyes, and that went to theaters as well. But I do have some early pictures of how this was created for TV. There's some pictures of Superman there, Clark Kent, facial features. I do have some fighting stances and facial features of Clark and Superman here. 17 serials in total. First animated appearance of the character. It was all done, like I mentioned, for Paramount Pictures. Negotiated for $50,000 an episode, which would have been about $799,000 nowadays.
Which would be
times.
A lot for today.
Yep.
Like nobody gets that much today on their first go around or first shot.
It was, and it also at the time was not protected. So this went into public domain, I think, in the 70s. So all of these episodes, anybody can release them and make money off of them. The voice acting was done by Bud Culver and Joan Alexander, who also originated the characters in radio first in 1940, and they did 2,088 episodes on radio. But they also did the voice acting in the serial cartoons as well, and that is them right there. Probably a publicity shot, pretending they're recording it, but this is the cartoon we're talking about. Very noir. The influence that this had on a lot of artists, a lot of people. We'll talk about that in a minute, but the orchestral soundtrack, done by an orchestra, synchronized a lot with the action. You would hear a piece of music hit every time he would punch somebody, or so on and so forth. He would fight robots, dinosaurs, a lot of sci-fi stuff going on in this cartoon. But the one crowning achievement that this had is giving Superman flight. The very first time he flew, because in the comic books, like we've mentioned before, he only leaped over tall buildings. That was his thing. But they actually, because they thought when they animated it, it looked weird when he was leaping. They asked DC, is it okay if we get your permission to make him fly because it looks better on screen? And they gave him permission. And from that moment forward, even going into the comic books, he ended up flying. Also originated the phrase, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Originated in this show. It was also adapted into the radio serials as well as the theme song ended up going into the radio serials. In live action, decades later, with the Adventures of Superman, we'll talk about a couple months from now. Up in the sky, look, a bird playing Superman, taken from this in the early radio series. The first 9 episodes were produced by Fleischer Studios, Max Fleischer. And in 1942, the studio was restructured as Famous Studios. The Fleischer brothers had a falling out. The final 8 episodes produced were more like World War II propaganda, rather than the science fiction backdrop. They had some science fiction in there too, but a lot of the episodes dealt with Japanese, dealt with Germany. There's actually a picture of Hitler at one point being pissed off.
Max's brother is the one that directed the first episode too, right? I wonder how many he directed. Okay.
Yep. It was a family affair. You're right. The series steampunk noir feel influenced the animated series of Batman back in the early 90s, as well as the Superman animated series in 1990s. Also, the main inspiration for Alex Ross's art style of the character, which we've been talking a lot about lately. And the character has showed up since the 40s. He was in the Crisis of Infinite Earth Arrowverse tie-in comic. This came out right around that TV show, big, huge thing that they were doing, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And they actually showed Earth F, where this version of Metropolis is, and they showed it being destroyed by the Anti-Monitor, which was part of that series, I believe. I just want to talk about the character a little bit, talk about a brief introduction, because we're going to be getting deep into a lot of the TV series and comic books in the months to come, and I think this is a good introduction. This is the first thing I watched when I was a kid. I had it on VHS. I watched quite a few of them. I remember when I was watching through them this week that I remember seeing this. The first episode is the one I used to always watch. I think it was the beginning of the VHS.
Yeah, I've seen the first one like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, it's very iconic. him fighting the laser. But the big review this week is a comic book that we've been talking about for a while. Kevin's got it right behind him. Superman for All Seasons. This is a fantastic book.
Fucking amazing, isn't it? I love a good Clark Kent story, which is what this basically is.
It is. Came out in 1998. Now, the big part of this is the origin. This is the origin of not only Clark, but Superman. But this is also the origin of where Smallville, the idea for the TV show Smallville, came from, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
Because if you know Smallville, you've got Lana, you've got Clark, you've got Pete. All those characters are in this book.
I love Pete.
I did too. I like Pete in Smallville as well. The reason why it's called For All Season is it's 4 books compiled into this one paperback that I had, and they're all a season. First book is spring, and they're also done through the eyes of one of the characters. The first book is from Jonathan Kent's perspective. The second, that's from spring. The second one is summer, done from Lois Lane's perspective. Third is fall, done from Lex Luthor's perspective. And fourth is winter, done from Lana Lang's perspective. In the whole series, you're getting a glimpse at Clark when he was growing up, when Jonathan and Martha found him. How he ended up going, how his life on the farm was, how his life in Smallville was, how he went from there to Metropolis, how he works at Daily Planet, works with Lois Lane, meets Lex Luthor, ends up having a rivalry with him. All of that is explained in this book fairly well, very good. This is a good book.
It's so good. I think I read it. I think this was I read it like 4 times last year. So this is probably my 5th reading. I absolutely love this book, which I've been talking to you about for a long time.
Forever. Yeah.
And also, when I was reading this, I was like, I really hope Lois Lane calls him Smallville like just once in the movie, because she calls him that throughout this. She called him that in the movie
in Smallville.
Smallville.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she ever called him that in the original movie. I don't think she did. But
I don't know.
I don't know. It might have originated in this. It might have originated in this book. I can't remember if I'd ever read where she'd called him Smallville before, but. I just love that she calls him that, because it's like looking down on him, and like he's just this little like nothing. But
that's what he wants. He wants to fit in as a human, so he's gonna allow that. He's gonna actually probably stoke that fire and make it seem like he's more of a human than he actually is. Because you look at him as Superman with glasses. He just looks like a big brawly guy, but. He's just trying to fit in.
I love the way he's drawn in this too. He's just this massive alien, basically.
I thought it made him look kind of young too. If you look at his facial features, it makes him look young.
Well, the book starts off when he's 17 or 18 years old. So
yeah.
And
very good.
He can handle a tornado in this book. Wonder what happened there. Is tornado good?
Very good book. I don't know I think we're going to do this about once a month. We're going to read a comic book. We're going to watch stuff every once in a while. We're going to talk about an aspect of the character throughout every couple weeks probably. But next up, in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about 2 documentaries. Both of them
on YouTube, I think.
both of them are on my Plex, by the way. So if you
I'm pretty sure the first one you have there was on YouTube, because I think I just watched it.
Look Up in the Sky.
Yep.
Look Up in the Sky, The Amazing Story of Superman. This was an exclusive for a Blu-ray box set, or DVD box set that came out with Superman Returns in 2006.
Oh, so that means it was probably produced.
It was produced by Bryan Singer. Yes.
And no, but Robert Meyer Burnett, who has gotten a lot of flack. Have you seen any of these tweets lately? I'll send them to you after the show, but he's been going at the Snyder people very hard, and he did all these special features on Superman Returns, and I believe he did the Lord of the Rings trilogy too. But yeah, it's a good documentary.
We're gonna talk all about that, and we're also gonna talk about the documentary "Secret Origin: The Story of DC Comics," narrated by Ryan Reynolds. It's about the history of the comic book. It talks about all the characters, but I figured it's good. It's a good. And we talked a lot about the intro to the character and the Schuster and Simons today, so I figured it'd be a good idea to get into that. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks, but yeah, I'm very excited for Superman.
Me too.
We got some Superman news at the end of the show. We'll talk about.
Yes, we do.
Until then, let's get into the news. And it's not a news segment with a trailer around it. We got a new trailer, kind of quick trailer for Alien Earth, but we got a new poster too, which looks fucking awesome.
Yeah,
you got Earth. You got Earth with the alien head there. It looks really, really cool. It comes out this summer on Hulu. Very excited. Basically, it shows the alien landing on Earth.
I've been waiting for this type of thing since the 1980s. Like, since I saw the first time I watched Aliens. Like, I've been waiting for them to get to Earth.
What's going to happen when an alien goes to Earth? Well, now we'll find out, which is going to be awesome. We got the first trailer for a movie called Locked, starring Bill Skarsgård and Anthony Hopkins. Comes out March 21st.
It looks like Saw.
Looks like Saw in a car.
Yeah, it looks like a less scary version of Saw, like, as far as, like, you don't want to see somebody getting their foot chopped off. It looks like, it's like a Saw trap, but it doesn't look like it's as violent as a Saw trap would be.
Bill Skarsgård playing a car burglar. Ends up going into this car, very highly advanced car owned by Anthony Hopkins, and gets trapped in there, locked in, and he's remote controlling the car and doing a whole bunch of shit fucking with him, turning the heat down to very, very low and freezing him out, but he can't get out. It looks really, really good. If you have not seen the trailer, it's called Locked. It's a horror thriller movie starring Bill Skarsgård, who I love. So, another movie called Riff Raff. Starring Pete Davidson and Bill Murray. I don't know if you had a chance to see this trailer or not. It's fucking wacky as hell. Lewis Pullman, Gabrielle Union, Ed Harris, Jennifer Coolidge. Looked funny. Looked like something you may want to watch. I don't know. But the trailer that I'm really excited for is Sinners. This fucking movie.
Oh my! I avoid that trailer at all costs. I have not watched it. This is one I'm avoiding.
It looks really, really good. Ryan Coogler, of course, Black Panther, Creed. Michael B. Jordan stars in this. It's some sort of a vampire story. We're not really sure much. The trailer kind of gave a little bit away, but not a lot. Comes out on April 18th. Very excited for that. Weekend box office last week. Flight Risk, the movie directed by Mel Gibson, starring Mark Wahlberg, $12 million. Mufasa the Lion King, $8 million. And One of Them Days, $8 million. So yeah, not a big, huge box office weekend.
No, but it's January.
It's January,
Yeah.
Rest in peace to Mary Ann Faithfull. If you're a fan of Metallica, you know her from singing Memory Remains. She does the na 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 na. Well, that's her. She died this week. So rest in peace to her. And surprising news that surprised no one.
Is it though?
Pee Wee Herman, in a posthumous documentary, which I love documentaries, so I'm excited to see this, has come out as being gay. Shocking.
Where's that Dokes surprise motherfucker soundbite we need to get
surprise
on?
Motherfucker. Have you ever seen the Vine of the guy who does surprise motherfucker? Supplies motherfucker. Deep fries motherfucker. I gotta send you that after the show.
I gotta start saying that shit at work. Deep fries, motherfucker.
Pee Wee Herman comes out as gay. It's gonna be in a documentary. Just debuted at a film festival somewhere. Coming into the WWE Hall of Fame, Triple H runs the show now. Has been holding out being in the Hall of Fame because he's running the whole show. He didn't want to be in it, but he was surprised this week by Nick Khan, who runs everything, and they told him, yeah, you're going in. It's only rightfully so, because he did so much for wrestling. I mean, everybody talks about The Rock in Austin, but Triple H was a huge heel at that time, a huge part of the show, who did amazing things for the company now, but it did amazing things back then as a performer. So, good to see. Speaking of him, Stephanie McMahon has a new show coming out on ESPN, a travel show where she's kind of traveling with WWE superstars, coming in March. Trailer looked actually pretty good. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who knows with these type of productions?
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling, Dark Side of the Ring announced all the new episodes.
Yes.
First episode tackles Hell in a Cell, Big Van Vader, Tony Atlas, who, wow, Ludwig Borga. I don't know who that is.
Looking forward to that one.
Billy Jack Hayes, heard of him.
Looking forward
Hot
to
Stuff
that.
Eddie Gilbert, heard of him. Superstar Billy Graham, heard of him. Daphne, know her. She was in WCW. The original Sheik, and Muhammad Hassan.
Isn't Billy Jack Haynes the gentleman that went on one Rob Feinstein's shoot videos and talked about the reason why Chris Benoit killed his son is because he found out his son was actually Vince McMahon's son. So that should be a great fucking episode. I'm going to look for that shoot interview, and hopefully I can send it to you. I have it somewhere. But it's a hell of an interview. That guy is fucking batshit insane.
Wow.
Batshit.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. Comes out March 25th. It could be on Vice online, too. So we'll talk about that every week. Dave Franco, fully aware that people want him to play the guy who killed that guy from...
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Mangino.
Fully aware of it. They have not made an offer. He keeps receiving texts from friends and saying,
it's funny
you'd be perfect for this role.
I didn't think about it, and then I saw this news, and I was like, oh, you know what? They're kind of
Perfect.
right. Yeah.
Yep, looks just like him. Eddie Murphy is going to be in a new movie called Blue Falcon. Movie follows a retired super spy who heads for a destination wedding for his son, only to find himself in proximity with an arch rival. Yeah, okay.
That sounds trash.
He hasn't learned his lesson from Metro and all those movies from the early 2000s.
I was going to say, yeah, it reminds me of one of those, the Metros and whatever else he was doing around that time.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking do one more comedy show, bro. Just do it. Just do it for the people.
Yeah, why wouldn't he do a live? Why is he afraid to do a live?
He was doing it. Remember, he was planning it, and then
right before COVID. Yeah,
and then it just went away, and he ended up doing Axel F, which is a fine movie, but
fine.
Bro, just do us one more solid.
We want Raw. We want what was it? Delirious.
Delirious and Raw.
Delirious. Yep. Yeah, we want those. And in a shocking move that nobody really cares about, Little House on the Prairie is getting rebooted on Netflix.
Yippee.
Have you ever tried to watch that show?
Nope.
Oof. Coming out on Max on March 27th. I saw a video. Is this actually happening, this fight?
No, what's coming out on Max
it's
on
a
March
reality
27th
show.
is a reality show, yes.
Okay, so they were hyping it up as a fight, but it's actually a reality show.
Is it Logan Paul the one with the tattoo on the head? Who's it? No, Jake Paul's the one.
Paul.
He's the one that's not in WWE. Yeah, he's the one that posted it on his Twitter, jokingly was like, you guys have always wanted to see us fight, blah, 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 March 27th, HBO Max. But it's a reality show.
Yeah, that's the poster, so everybody thought they were going to have a fight,
Yes.
but it's actually a reality show. Dumb. In shocking
Jesus
news...
Christ.
In shocking news,
Jesus
what is this
Christ.
movie?
Okay,
what is this movie going to be? Scott Foley joins the cast of Scream 7. That's the first part of the story.
Yeah, okay, so let me talk about this real quick. Let me just get this off the chest. So Scott Foley is the bad guy / half-brother to Sidney Prescott from Scream 3, which was being written by Kevin Williamson until he got booted off the project after the second draft. And so it's odd that Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream 7 in his directing Scream 7, is bringing this fucking guy back. Also, up until this point, Scream 3 has not really been considered canon amongst most fans because they never mention a single goddamn thing that happens in that movie going forward. And it's also a fucking dumbass movie. It was terrible.
It's trash.
The twist was terrible. Him being a half sibling was terrible. Sydney's mother being basically a whore in Hollywood was terrible. It's trash movie. I fucking.
That's the one. That's the one with Jay. That's the one with Jay and Silent Bob, right? And
the only highlight of the film.
It's us. Right. Okay.
Yes.
The other news that happened was bringing back Matthew Lillard to play Stu. This is the post that he put on social media. The line, of course, famous from his first movie.
Yep.
My mom and dad are going to kill me. They're going to be so mad at me.
My guess is he's going to be in a flashback scene and they're going to de-age him. A scene that features his mom and dad, which is why I'm just assuming because he put this up and then like an hour later was announced that he is returning for Scream. So I could see him in a flashback of sorts, kind of like what they do with Skeet Ulrich. They just can't use Skeet anymore because both those girls are off the project. So I assume it would be similar to what they have been doing with Skeet previously.
What a name, Skeet.
It's a great name.
Terrifier 4 is in the works.
Damn right.
Currently being written. Going to be the finally revealing Art's origin. It's going to be a conclusion to the series, is what they're saying.
Good.
You got a first look at Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in a movie called R.I.P. The film follows a group of Miami cops who discover millions in cash in a derelict stash house. Comes out this year on Netflix. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, good friends.
They do. Yeah, they're great. Yeah, I love Air. I love Good Will Hunting. The more they work together, the happier I am. Yep.
Robert Eggers talking a lot this week about Nosferatu. Just came out on digital, so revealed that he got the idea from inspired the look of Nosferatu from watching Batman Returns on a flight. I was watching on one of these flights. I threw on Batman Returns, and like snowy gothic atmosphere of that movie is quite like shockingly similar to a lot of the stuff we were doing here. Okay, Robert Eggers.
Did I send you the article he did like last week talking about going to the Fox Run Mall?
No, I sent you that. We talked about it on the show.
Okay, I thought so. I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we talked about it. Insidious 6 is supposed to come out in August. It's been delayed until 2026. Taking its place is a movie called Caught Stealing. It's coming out in August. Darren Aronofsky doing a baseball movie starring Austin Butler. Also in the cast, Bad Bunny, Action Bronson the rapper, Vincent D'Onofrio, Zoe Kravitz, Liv Shriver, Griffin Dunn, Matt Smith, and Regina Hall. This cast sounds good. It's a baseball movie. Darren Aronofsky, great director. Comes out in August. Excited for that.
Darren Aronofsky doing this movie is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
He's a very interesting filmmaker every time he comes out with a project.
Yeah. Jake Gyllenhaal is going to be starring in M. Night Shyamalan's next romantic thriller movie. Film is based on an original story he created with novelist Nicholas Sparks. Jake Gyllenhaal is kind of in a resurgence of his career right now. He hasn't really had a break, but especially with Roadhouse that came out, everybody loved that movie, kind of. Miramax is making The Faculty again. That first movie came out in 1998, so they're rebooting it. Starring Josh Hartnett, right?
With Josh Hartnett being hot right now, they'd be better off doing a sequel and having it kind of like it, where like every 25 or whatever they want to space it out, 30 years, something like this happens. Because Elijah Wood also survived that film, so you can have Elijah Wood in it too. But apparently they're just going to remake it, which I don't know.
From what I remember, was it aliens had infiltrated the high school?
Yes,
and the teachers and some of the kids, the faculty, and the teachers were all aliens.
I watched it. I watched it again. I think
years ago.
I watched it when I saw Trap. I rewatched this movie after I saw Trap. I
haven't seen this movie since high school. It's been so long.
I used to watch that and Disturbing Behavior back to back. Like that would be like a double feature for me because they were similar.
Coming out today, casting for House of Dragons Season 3. Character Ormond Hightower, James Norton is going to be playing that character. Oh, nice. Anything you know about this character, you can tell me what's going on? Ormond Hightower?
Otto Hightower's brother, I want to say.
Okay.
As we get further away from the books, my memory gets foggy, and I have a shit memory anyways, because I have not reread these since the show was announced. But I believe he's the younger brother of Otto Hightower.
Okay.
Because his son's already been in the show, so I don't think it's his son.
Yep. Okay. Netflix released a whole bunch of stuff yesterday. First thing was a picture from the new Frankenstein movie with Oscar Isaac playing Dr. Frankenstein. Second thing was the first picture from the new Knives Out movie. Goes out the end of the year with what's his name? Daniel Craig. Daniel
Craig and the guy from Challengers is seen in that photo.
Yep. Also got a new picture of Happy Gilmore and Bad Bunny being his caddy. Got a new poster for Squid Game season 3. Also got the date. It was confirmed July 27th for the final part of that series, and we got a picture of the lead there being handcuffed after he was caught at the end of that second season. Got a new quick 10-second, 5-second clip of Wednesday season 2. We got news of a new documentary called Eddie, about Eddie Murphy, the story of Eddie Murphy's life, coming out sometime in 2025. I know you're excited because next week you got Cobra Kai. I think next week or the week after, February 13th.
Yeah.
Got 2 new posters for that. It's going to be the end of that. What else we got? Brand new documentary about the Titan submersible. That's the one that exploded last year when it went down to the Titanic.
That was cool.
They're doing a Titanic all about not only the submersible, but the guy who ran it, the billionaire who ended up dying down there and all that. They're going to do a whole documentary on Netflix about that. Got a brand new official poster for Stranger Things, the final season, with a wanted poster, missing teen poster for Jane, who was played by Millie Bobby Brown, 11. And today it was announced, which I am pissed, but we knew it was coming. The Sandman Season 2 will be the final season. We got a new poster for it. And 2025, that's going to come out sometime this year. And the showrunner basically said that we knew that this was all Dream's story, the main character. And they looked at the remaining Dream material from the comics, and they had enough story for one more series, is what they're saying. And they're extremely grateful for Netflix, blah, 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 blah. But the actual story is Neil Gaiman is a fucking menace to society. Not only did I don't have it in here, but he did get fired from Dark Horse Comics this week after multiple women came forward saying that he raped them, groomed them, did a whole bunch of nefarious things with them, and he's been fired from that. And I have a feeling that's why.
Like in the same prison cell.
On Epstein Island, yeah. But it sucks. I do like Sandman. I like the other show too, the Dead Boy Detectives. But casualties of people acting like foolish and not using their celebrity the right way, using it for all the wrong way. But Saturday Night Live mentioned it. They're going to be coming out with not only the special that comes out, the live special, 3-hour special on the 16th. But on the 14th, Radio City Music Hall is doing a 3-hour live-streamed concert for the sketch comedy series. A whole bunch of artists that have been on the show before. And they have a huge lineup from Lady Gaga, Bad Bunny, Miley Cyrus, Backstreet Boys, Post Malone, Jack White, David Byrne, Robin, she's British, they're both British, Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, Devo, Chris Martin, a lot of these people, Jelly Roll, a lot of these people have been on the show multiple times, a few times, some of them have even hosted, so yeah, I'm excited for that whole weekend. Speaking of Saturday Night Live, we got some swag, not a lot, but...
Swag! Stuff we all get.
Come on, son. You know that's right.
We got some official pop figures from characters of the past. The one I want to get there is Matt Foley of Van Down by the River, with Chris Farley figure. I want to get that. Excited for the next couple of weeks of SNL. A lot of cool stuff coming out. This next piece of news, I wish I had the "How Would I Say Goodbye" from Boys to Men. Rest in peace to Watto. In a comic book from Star Wars came out this week, they showed Vader had returned to Tatooine and killed Watto.
Yes.
And the internet memes went nuts. There's one right there with John Cena when he announced that Osama bin Laden had been killed.
That was
Watto has been caught and compromised to a permanent end. There's a lot of great memes up there. Search them on Twitter if you want. But that's on the comic book series Legacy of Vader that came out this week or last week. And shocking Superman news. Speaking of Smallville earlier, Tom Welling. Somebody save him from an Arby's parking lot because he got arrested for drunk driving in an Arby's parking lot.
That's what he gets for going to fucking Arby's.
Hey, Arby's is great. Depends on what you get. Beef and cheddar's all the way. But yeah, he got arrested this week for DUI. Hasn't been in the spotlight much after Smallville. A couple things here and there. He was on Arrow, right? The Arrowverse for a little while there, for one or two episodes.
Yep.
But
He was in the Crisis stuff.
it's funny that this next article came out today because we were talking about Superman and how that came about for just $150. They sold the rights to that, and WB has had full rights to the character with no problem. Copyright law has made it so Warner Brothers has pretty much bought the character out from the family. In America, copyright laws in the rest of the world are completely different, especially in the Commonwealth of Britain. And today, the estate of Superman, I think it was Schuster's family, came out and sued Warner Brothers to deny the release
every time there's
a new movie.
Every time.
Yep.
And they lose
James
every
Gunn,
time.
they're trying to deny the release in UK owned province territories, certain Canada, Australia, so on and so forth, United Kingdom, Ireland. It was basically saying that you have a copyright law in America, that's fine, but we need to get paid. And they want to terminate it. They want to actually have the rights to the Schuster estate wants to have the rights to Superman outside of America. Schuster died in 1992. Siegel died in 1996. They're saying there's a 25-year waiting period after the author's death, vesting the estate copyright interest. So that's kind of what they're fighting for. But they've got the big lawyers for WB going against them. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Just like you mentioned, every year the movie comes out, this happens.
This has made Twitter 10 times more insufferable today than it usually is.
Yes, it has.
It's been awful.
Speaking of insufferable Twitter, this started out at the beginning of the week when they released a quick TV trailer for Superman. And they had a brand new shot of Superman flying. This picture right here of the close-up picture of David Cornsweet Superman flying has got the internet on fucking in a storm, in a tizzy. Because they're saying, what the fuck? Why does this look so weird? Well, number one, it's just the way it's shot. James Gunn has also said the movie is inspired by Top Gun Maverick, the flying scenes. Got that from this clip right away. I had no problem with it. I don't know what your thoughts on the whole controversy are.
First time I watched it, I was like, his face looks kind of weird in that shot. Because it did the first time I watched it, because I think it was just probably a low-res grab also, but I think it looks fine. And for all we know, the shot might not even be in the movie.
Right.
We have no idea. People were picking apart things. They were like drawing charts, and they were like, "Why would Bro go this way and not around that way? Why is Bro barrel rolling?" And I'm like, if I could fly, I'd fucking barrel roll all the time, be doing loops.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So it's just a human nature of what a flyer would be, but yeah.
And I love his hair moving, as opposed to Henry Cavill's like completely like gelled over, like looks like they put a tube of gel every time they did his hair in fucking BVS. So I like his hair moving a little bit. That's cool. Yeah.
Overall, I don't care. It looks fine. I think it'll look good.
Yeah, like
the controversy.
I saw somebody post too on Twitter, and they go, when the Batman released, like when the first trailer for the Batman came out, and Robert Pattinson had a similar shot diving off the building. He goes, I hated that shot, but I still think the movie's 8.5 out of 10. He's like,
right. Yep. Marvel news for the week. Promoting Captain America, of course, coming out in a couple weeks. But Chris Evans has denied returning from Marvel for our Avengers Doomsday, saying that's not true. I think this is just a pivot. He's lied before to the press. I don't think they wanted stuff like this to come out, but it came out. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Everybody lies. You can't believe anybody, especially Marvel. Speaking of Captain America, finally in news, this fucking Anthony Mackie news, I thought it was way out of proportion. It's political shit gone wrong on Twitter. Exactly. But he said something about Captain America symbolizes what it symbolizes to him. The exact quote, Captain America represents a lot of things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. It's about a man who keeps his word, has honor, dignity, and integrity. Nothing wrong with that. I think that's exactly right. It's been said before by other people, including Chris Evans. We'll get into it in a minute. But the internet took that as you're an anti-American, Anthony Mackie, for even saying that you're not Captain America and is not American. And he had to clarify his remarks. Actually had to go online because the other side, the left side, I guess it's extreme left, whatever the fuck it is, went on there and he actually had to go on and say, let me be clear about this. I'm a proud American, and taking on the shield of a hero like Cap is the honor of a lifetime. He shouldn't have even had to say that.
No.
Chris Evans similarly said the same thing in 2011 when Captain America was brought up if he was American. Not trying to get lost in all the American side of it. He isn't a flag This isn't a flag waving movie. It is red, white, and blue. It just so happens that the character was created in America during World wartime, when there was a common enemy, even though it is Captain America. So he's talking the same thing 10 years ago about this. This whole controversy was nothing. I'm kind of excited for the movie. Not as excited as I have been in the past for a Marvel movie. Probably lower on my totem pole as far as that's concerned, but I'm excited. It's a new Marvel movie. I'm going to go watch it. So that's it for the show. That's it for news. A couple of things I wanted to bring up next week. Have you heard about this show Paradise on Hulu? I keep hearing everything about it. It's a sci-fi show. Kind of, I guess. I have no idea what there's a big, huge twist in the first episode, I guess.
Hemsworth's brother? Is that Liam? In that photo?
No, that's James Marsden.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way his hair looks now, he looks like Liam a little bit.
Starring Sterling K. Brown, James Marsden. I believe he plays the president. I keep hearing it has a great twist, and it's good, and I don't know if we should watch that or not, but I want to bring it up. I was scrolling through Prime this week. I found 2 documentaries I think we should keep an eye on. Playing with Power, the Nintendo story, a 5-part documentary series.
Is that on now?
It's on there now. Narrated by Sean Astin. The other documentary I think you might be excited for is a documentary called RoboDoc, the creation of RoboCop.
Is that
never
also
heard
on
about
Prime right now?
It's both of them are on Prime right now. I just scroll through and say, "Wow, these are new. I never even heard of these." But talking about the origin story of both of those, Nintendo and RoboCop. Well, we might talk about that in a future pod.
Definitely.
Coming tomorrow on Saturday, as we record on the 1st, Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about that next week. I plan on watching it.
I will be watching it.
We'll talk about the penultimate episode of Dexter next week, episode 9. We'll talk about Dark Side of the Cage. We get to that. Continue our talk about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Invincible comes out on the 6th. I believe that's Wednesday. If you catch up on that, you can talk about that. The only movie coming out next week is Love Hurts with Ki Kwan. Looked funny. I don't know if we're probably not going to go to the theaters and see that, but I didn't want to bring that up.
Yeah.
Coming out the month of February, the 9th is the Super Bowl. Halftime. We're going to talk all about the halftime show and everything, all the trailers. There's going to be a bunch of stuff to talk about. A movie coming out on IMAX on the 7th, we're probably not going to see. Coming out and streaming sometime probably next month. Becoming a Led Zeppelin documentary, which I'm very excited for. The 13th, Cobra Kai, the final event, the final season. 14th, Captain America Brave New World. The 16th, SNL 50th special. And the Stephen King movie, The Monkey, the horror movie, coming out on the 21st.
Yep.
Kind of looked good, that trailer. So that's it for the show, everybody, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you. Talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Cheap Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds. Rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest news and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain, bringing you the best in geekdom, it's our domain.